So a very interesting game there. Brian and Ben will get in the goal in there for Brentford to cap off a good performance. 2 goals, clean sheets, clean job at the bridge. Let me start to you, Edwin. Pochettino must be frustrated. I counted at least 3 good chances where Chelsea could have put away in that first half, put this game to bed, and the outcome would have been having a different conversation by now.
Look, it's the story of the season for Chelsea, isn't it? Every time you get chances, they fail to take them, and then the other team scores, and we start the conversation back again. You mentioned that the win for Brighton was a bit of a surprise. It's become the norm now.
Brentford, I mean.
Brentford, sorry. Yeah. It's become the norm now because they've won on their last 3 trips to Stamford Bridge. Combined score of 8-1. Yeah, this is a team that is used to beating Chelsea.
They are dominating at the bridge now.
They are dominating Chelsea at the bridge, which is very surprising. It's not a this season problem. 8-1, combined score of 8-1.
That's crazy. That is actually... Chelsea have scored once against Brentford in the last 3 trips.
In the last 3 games at Stamford Bridge.
That's very interesting.
Go back to this game. I think Chelsea were very good in that first half. Very impressive. It dominated the game. And Thomas Frank himself said that they were very average in the first half. The problem with Chelsea, of course, as we saw, they failed to take advantage of their opportunities. Everyone was playing well. The team was passing well. They had chances to score, and they didn't take them. In the second half, Thomas Frank spoke to his players, told them to believe that you can play at Stamford Bridge, believe that you can pass the ball. In the first half, they weren't passing the ball really well. They were losing out on the 50-50 tackles. They were missing easy passes. In the second half, that all changed. The players started stringing 5-yard, 10-yard passes together, eventually grew to long-range passes, and they were getting at the Chelsea defense. In the second half, Chelsea players basically lost their way. There was no intent, no desire to press the ball, no desire to move into spaces. So there were occasions where Sterling will get the ball on the right, get into a crossing position. There's no one moving into the box. There are occasions where Noni Madueke, who should be working hard to earn his position as a starter.
Noni Madueke looks lifeless.
He was just walking while players were trying to find out someone to pass to. There was a particular moment when the ball went on the right, a cross was about to be made into the box, and Nicholas Jackson, instead of being in between the center backs, was to the side, near the crosser, instead of being...
Let's have the Chelsea highlights rolling again. I mean, just without the background noise as Edwin speaks over.
Instead of being where a number 9 should be, in between the center backs, where you can take advantage of these cutbacks into the box. He was nowhere near that. And there was no other player running into the box. There are a lot of fundamental things wrong with Chelsea, and we could list them over and over again. But I feel we've done so many games, so it doesn't change. The problems don't change. Chances creation on point. Goal scoring, definitely a problem. And then you let the other team, you lose your concentration, let the other team in, and then they find the goal. And after that, you have to push so many players forward that you leave more spaces at the back for them to take advantage of. Brentford could have won and probably should have won this game by 3-0. They didn't. And it's getting worrying as for Chelsea fans, looking at how good the team is playing 1 week against Arsenal. And then the next week, they step off the pace. Players aren't showing the same level of intensity. And you wonder, is it because Brentford are not your typical big game? Did they show up for the Arsenal
somebody's been whooping you 8, somebody's put 6 before, and you've only scored 1, and they're coming again, that's enough motivation to wake up. But coach, let me just get your thoughts. First of all, what does Brentford have on Chelsea? Because that's a very terrifying stat line, to have scored just 1 at home and conceded 8 against an opponent. And also, to also take a cue from what he said, you play so well against Arsenal 1 week, the next week you're almost unrecognizable.
These are attributes typical of a team undergoing transition. Consistency, it takes time before consistency becomes the norm. But as for Brentford, they know how to beat Chelsea. And yesterday, Mauricio Pochettino facilitated that.
How?
He facilitated. I think his choice of back line was very wrong.
Had Levy Cole at left back yesterday.
There's absolutely no reason why Disasi should be playing as a right back.
Yeah.
I think that was where the problem is. And that was the fundamental reason why Nicholas Jackson just could not stay in the box, because he knew that Madueke will not cross the ball. Raheem Sterling will also not cross the ball. So for Chelsea to have done any crosses into the box, which he could attack, it requires the laterals, the fullbacks, to go on the overlap. We watched that game for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
There was no day or no second in that game where Disasi, who was playing on the same side as Madueke, knowing very well that Madueke is a left-footed player.
Yeah.
So when the ball gets to him,
He's coming inside.
On. So who was giving him the width?
Nobody.
You needed your fullback, especially when Brentford were always playing 5 across. You needed somebody to help the wingers. Occasionally, Cucurella did that. But again, very typical of him. His delivery into the box would never find.
He got
any
into
Chelsea
a
player.
goal. I thought the best chance of the game and wasted it.
Came to him when Brentford themselves never thought
Yeah.
that should anybody be in the box at that time.
Cole
it would
Palmer
be the
picked
left
him up.
fullback.
He was
And
coming,
Cole Palmer,
picked him
it
up,
was
yeah.
diagonal, and all he needed to do was to either
It fell to his right
foot,
to
but
be
he
on-
could have
to
controlled
be-
it
Yeah.
because there was Nicholas Jackson or Raheem Sterling just going to let them plant the ball into the
Raheem
which
Sterling
he
was
didn't
actually
do.
waiting behind him.
Yes.
If he had communicated, I'm sure
That
he
would
could
have
have
been an
dummied
easy
left
tackle.
it for him. I don't know.
But look, Chelsea knew this was going to be a difficult game. We did a game on radio,
Yeah.
and I was always very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I said, look,
Close win for Chelsea
very
or a
close
draw.
Or a draw.
Yeah.
And if Brentford were to score first, Chelsea is going to find themselves in big, big trouble. My only worry,
Yeah.
again, for this Chelsea team is that, like I've said, they don't look like a team who will win games from a losing position. They don't. So far, they've thrown away leads.
Yep.
Has time to be corrected. This season, have they come back? Have they been able to do a comeback? Has time to be corrected? I don't think so.
Not that I remember.
Every game they've lost, they've conceded first, and they couldn't rescue it. At least, if you cannot do that,
There was the Burnley game.
I think they came back from the
Yeah,
Burnley game, but
Burnley
we all know what normally will happen to Burnley. They are there for the taking. Yesterday,
goals in droves.
left, right, center. But if at the bridge,
Yeah.
you play as if you don't have the belief that when you are trailing by a goal to Brentford, you can come back, then there are serious issues. Mauricio Pochettino should not do too much
Tweak it.
tweaking of the team,
Yeah.
tinkering with the team. Look, it is time, yes, there may be injuries, but that thing, in the absence of Rich James, it has to be good stuff. Who should be at right back? In the absence of Chilwell, it has to be what? Cucurella. The back line is not something that you check and change week in, week
Yeah.
out as a manager, unless you are forced to do so
Through
due
injury.
to injury or suspension. But if you are maintaining the same goalkeeper, get him to be, he needs to get used to those guys who are going to be playing in front of him. If the next moment is this, then it makes communication
Even
very,
difficult.
very difficult. And for me, that was the foundation he didn't get right. Because that goal, if Disasi was a true lateral fullback,
Should have given
there was
them.
no way
Yeah.
they would have considered the first goal. Something should have told him that he needed to head the ball away.
Well, as things stand now, Brentford have Chelsea's number. They know how to come to the bridge. They have the formula for beating Chelsea at the bridge. I think all teams should see them now for that formula because really, and they know how to keep it decent at the back as well. Let's get to a game where there was again more free scoring. Arsenal Football Club were up against Sheffield United. Arsenal know how to beat the smaller teams as well. Edin Ketia scored his first Arsenal hat-trick in the process. So it was a good game all around for the Gunners.